All right, I believe we're live now. So I'm late from my own video. I had a shaving accident and about bled to death in the bathroom. So, all right, today we're going to be talking about FMRs, which is fair market rents, and we're also going to be talking about the subject of the video, which is the absurd prices we're starting to see as a matter of the market. So when you look at it as a whole, we went through a pandemic, and then a lot of people weren't able to make rents, and then also we had government packages in the trillions that stimulated the market for people to be able to buy homes and so on. Stimulating the market in such manner during a pandemic caused an unforeseen issue. And that's the one we're facing nationwide right now. And specifically, the topic is going to be addressing Section 8 and those that are in vouchers. Okay. So if you're here for any other reason, I would say this would not be the video for you. Also, this is a live video. You can chat with me. Now, I don't know if you can chat with me if you're on your phone, but on laptops, TVs, and so on, you have the option to do so and ask questions along the way. So, what's playing out around the country right now is simply this: a lot of the major cities, the big ones, LA, New York, and so on, landlords have already increased rents anywhere from 20 to 30%, and we're also seeing an additional spike, possibly of around 16%, which means that a lot of people that may win or be awarded a voucher for any number of reasons might just be priced out the market entirely. And I think the first market that may start to kind of collapse behind that's going to probably be LA and Orange because the rents were already absurd in that city. And it's reaching a point where it's not feasible anymore. And it's all over the news. So I thought we would address that considering that's what I do. Now, as far as introductions go, my name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. I've made probably 400 videos on YouTube. I own one of the largest consulting businesses here in the U.S. I address clients in every state, whether you're a landlord or a tenant, and I offer consulting work for those that want to help better navigate the system. Now, anybody can fill out an application with Housing Authority and wish for the best. There's lots of ways and many different types of vouchers you could go after. I don't offer real estate services or anything like that, which means home search, apartment search. That's more of a realtor and a broker that's licensed to do that. I just handle people that need to navigate the system or landlords that are interested in getting into the system of accepting vouchers, COC, and the many other types that are out there. So, that being said, I want to read you a little bit of information that I had written down earlier from today. And what we're going to be talking about is can a landlord raise the rent for Section 8 as a voucher and a tenant? So a lot of people are coming to me, hey, man, I've been living here 20 years, 15 years. They're raising my rents to unbelievable rates. And what I'm seeing is, the landlord can do that every 6 months in most cases. And it has to get the approval of the housing authority in most cases. And so, yes, in most legitimate cases, they give you fair notice and they do raise the rent and they can continue to do so. What most of you are unaware of or unapprised of is, just like the landlord can raise rents, you can also request that your rent reasonableness be reevaluated with your housing specialist or wherever your director of services is for the housing authority and see if they're willing to match or come closer to the higher asking rate, Um, so, as a question and answer scenario, yes, the landlord can raise rents for tenants who have Section 8 housing choice voucher, but there are guidelines in doing so. The landlord can give the public housing agency, in other words, a PHA, or better known as a housing authority, a 60 or 90-day notice depending on the PHA, and a written permission from the PHA before the changing of the rent goes into effect. In other words, they're giving you a notice, usually within the 60 to 90-day notice. If the PHA, quote unquote, the housing authority receives a request to raise rent, the PHA will send a form to the landlord to complete and sign. The landlord submits and completes the form to request the raise in rent directly to the PHA caseworker, as I mentioned earlier. The PHA caseworker will review the form and check if the requested rent amount is reasonable. Now, we're going to get into what reasonableness is, and I'm going to link you out to that through HUD's actual site so you can look at rent reasonableness over the number of years, including this year. If everything checks out, the caseworker will grant and raise the rent. And in most cases, they don't fight this. They actually just allow the landlord to do so because fair market rates have gone up. The reason a PHA asks for requests to be at least the 60-day level is because the request date of the raise is most tenants do require a minimum 30 to 60 days. So, that's self-explanatory. During the span of a housing assistance payments, which is better known as your HAP contract, the PHA will generally not accept any request to raise rents unless something unusual happens. And what has it been the last 2 years? Nothing but unusual. In any case, the PHA needs to be notified before any changes occur, and generally a new lease or HAP contract is needed unless you're within the limits of your lease expiring. If there are any changes in who is responsible for utilities and appliances, maybe one applicable reason, if there are any changes in the terms of the lease, and if the family moves to a new unit or if the unit's in the same apartment building, a new HQS, better known as a housing quality inspection, will be needed in that case. As an entire example of the timeline of what would happen, landlords calls and leaves a voicemail asking for a raise in rent. The PHA caseworker may get back to them, usually within a week or two. The PHA caseworker usually mails or emails back, and then that's usually another week. So in a timeline, it happens actually fairly quickly. Most of you have seen that. As you're arriving closer and closer to the end of your lease, we're starting to see some of these big changes. And what's interesting is we've not even reached the hottest market yet, which is this summer. So I think that is an anticipation. Again, I'm not an economist. I'm just saying that I believe that we may see rents continue to raise up all the way till just after summer, possibly as late as October. So, look, guys, if you can't afford the rents in the counties you're in, a lot of my clients, many of them this year already, I've already just told them, look, if you can't afford the rents in the county where your housing authority is, it's time to port. Okay. For many of you that have been on the East Coast or Upper West Coast where the rents are becoming just unbelievable, it may be the first time in your life you may need to have to leave part of the family behind and consider living in a different state. Now, if you notice in the background of the video here, you may see a few cats pop around. By the way, I'm a cat lover, so they are my little Hollywood stars. They will be, you'll see them here popping in and out of the video. Just love it or like it or hate it. So, one thing I'm going to link you up with right now, for those of you that can see comments, as this video is still live at this moment, I'm going to give you fair market rents a linkage. And give me a moment, and I'm going to link you up here in the live video. And I'm going to leave this link as well in the description of the video to help you guys out. So if you want to understand what the federal government, the rules of which they play by, as well as your landlord, then I would suggest that you take a look at that link, okay? It is HUD.gov. This is not a connection to a Russian website selling Viagra. It's the real deal. So beyond that, I put a secondary, and I wanted you to see the changes. So the secondary link that I put in the description is going to be the 1995 FMR. And that's so y'all can kind of see how it changes. Now, one thing I want to talk about a little bit further into this is going to be, let's see if I can find it. So this is going to be where you can actually find most of your estimates, which was going to be under Title 24, CFR 888.113. This, my friends, should allow you to, for you legal beagles that want to really look things up, want to have a weapon to use to be able to argue your point about rents, and this would be a useful thing to look up. I would suggest popping it in Google and then taking a look at the rules in which everybody must play. The quicker you guys become accustomed to the actual policies, procedures, and things that go on with your housing authority, the better you're going to be able to fight situations where extreme rents are requested. And I'm seeing a lot of undubious behavior. And I'm getting a lot of calls about it. Trust me, I've been hammered since January about this. Most of you even know I've been on YouTube 8 years, an additional 20 out there with my own website and so on. So I'm not new to this. I'm probably one of the longest lasting consultants that's still around. Most people don't find this work preferable. Why? Because you're working generally with people that don't have a great deal of money. And so that means I'll never be independently wealthy from what I do. And you guys will continue to seek out services wherever you can find them. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot. Most of you experience talking with housing authority employees. And I think the most encounters end up being rude, condescending, or less than helpful for you. You're not able to get the kind of information you're seeking. And in other cases, you deal with having to call 211, which is subsidized through the city and the state. And they're supposed to give you information. But the reality of those people, they don't know anything. They connect you to phone numbers that don't work and resources that are a fantastic joke. And so you find yourself wandering around the halls of YouTube and wandering around the halls of Google, hoping to find information that's accurate. But I think what the bigger problem is Every county has a different housing authority. Those housing authorities take their interpretation of what Title 24 is, policies and procedures from HUD, and then they kind of change those dynamics to match their community. So the information you believe that you're getting this wisdom on Google is actually probably 10 years old. And even if it was accurate, it would only be accurate in respect to one housing authority that they're addressing in one little city. To truly understand this, you'd have to have a hell of a database, something like what I have, where you're actually looking at this, you're practicing it, you understand it, and you're talking with hundreds of housing authorities around the nation. And anyways, all right, let's take a look at a few comments here. I'm glad to see a lot of y'all. Now, as many of you know, I've been in Arkansas for weeks, suffered through a month-long chest cold. It felt like I was in the depths of hell. I'm finally somewhat recovered. I'm about 95% good now. The color's back to my face. I'm not gagging and choking every day, and I'm back doing the video. The regular videos. I'm back home, so I'm comfortable again and not suffering. So I'm gonna start from the top here. JB says, "Yep, $600." Looks like he's saying they jumped it up to 600. New management took over, and the rent went from 17 to 2,300. Yep, I'm seeing that and even higher. Actually, most of the people have been chiming in by phone and email to me have been saying they've been seeing around 700 as an increase. Mr. Johnny Platt, how are you, man? Good to see you. Johnny's actually a client of mine. By the way, guys, I'm reading the comments. So if y'all have questions or want to make a comment for better or worse, you can do so in this live chat as we speak. Hey, Mr. J, you're sounding a lot better. You know what? I sound better. I feel better. And also, I shaved my head again. I got a bad haircut, and I think my hairstylist was aiming to make me look like one of those guys that are 20 with all the hair gets thrown forward. So we're going to start fresh with a new hairdo and see how that works out. Anyways, moving on. Abby, how are you today? Welcome to the channel. I'm in New York. I don't drive, so living outside the city is difficult. I absolutely understand that because you are at the center of the world in New York. So I totally get that. I still think there's opportunity. So this video is not designed to scare or spook anybody, but I think that we do have to have a reality adjustment when it comes to these rents. And a lot of my clients and a lot of people that aren't my clients are struggling with that concept. And we're struggling with the concept of what's left that could be afforded, maybe the worst kind of housing. And so we're having to work around that and re-navigate that. And of course, all of my seniors and the folks that are disabled, and even those with mental health struggles, that are not driving and so on, are struggling with how the hell do I move from a place that I've been for a better section of my life, Johnny Platt goes on to say Section 8 can request a raise of my rent voucher amount. Yes, absolutely. So, landlords are entitled to increase rent everywhere 6 months to a year. So I believe that you're entitled as well to make a reasonable request that your rent be reevaluated. Situations change, rents have changed. And so I think now would be an appropriate time to reach out to your local housing authority, speak with your housing specialist, and see if there would be an adjustment to match the course of the rents. The rents have changed dramatically, more so in the past 12 months than I've seen it in a decade. So the spike is pretty big and it's continuing to grow. In fact, I would suggest that the rents now are going parabolic, which means straight up. And let me tell you something, it isn't just people that are utilizing vouchers and low-income housing that are seeing this. Normal market rate tenants, people that work normal jobs that have no voucher or having they're choking on the rent too. It's actually affecting the whole market. Is it a sense of greed? Well, it's capitalism. If you can raise the rent, why not? If I can make $700 more a month and I own the building, why not do it? That's pretty much the attitude right now. The problem with it is it's rather destructive because it's knocking out low income up to the middle class. The only people who can really make these kind of rents are going to be the upper middle class to high end. Moving on down through the comments, and I'm going to take a sip of my coffee real quick. All right, so JB, agree with moving. I live in New York and I'm considering relocating. That's definitely something that I'm asking everybody to evaluate. If there is a point in your life that you've ever had to consider moving in order to keep safe and affordable housing, this may be the one-time event, and in the near future, where moving may be the only real option to have safe housing. A lot of people have navigated out the big cities now into more reasonable states with more reasonable rents. I got a shock the other day. I was reading that even in Oklahoma, we're talking about Oklahoma, nothing but cowboys and mountains and other things out there. Well, not mountains, but the rents are crazy there now. I've always known Oklahoma as being one of the more reasonable states. So, Lakeisha Bridges says 30% of 861 a month is, well, we know that 30% of 1,000 is 300. So I would suggest to you, I don't know if I can do that calculation in my head, but 150 down minus 30. I have to get back with you on that. See, now y'all caught me on my weak point math, even simple math. So tough to do it, Lakeisha, in the middle of a video. You got me. Abby Hines, I think right over the line to New Jersey, I happen to pass. New Jersey may be an option, but New Jersey is also seeing its own consequences of this market right now. And I've had a lot of concern, mostly seniors out of New Jersey, um, that have called and emailed about that. And so it might still be a great option. I don't know if you could survive some of the bigger cities that are in the New Jersey area, but it's certainly an option. Abby Hines also says hi. Well, welcome to the channel. Christopher Hammond, is a loft considered a bedroom with a voucher? Well, I think anything with a door. Now, the rules do change in California. They can consider your living room a bedroom in that state, but in most places, if it's enclosed, with the exception of a studio, if there's an enclosure, it's one bedroom. If there are two doors to two bedrooms, so I think it has to do with the door. Um, Johnny Platt, just stay away from the Ozarks. Yes, sir. I believe that we learned our lesson about moving into the mountains of Ozarks. That's a private joke between me and some of my 15,000 subscribers watching me deal with going to the Ozarks, northern Arkansas, and surviving an ice storm and the cold. So, going back to the main topic, Abby Khan says Hudson County, New Jersey has lots of transportation. New York, yeah, Jersey and many of the surrounding states are well traveled for transportation. So, Upper East Coast is great for that. Ms. Hines, JB says. Lakeisha's answer is $258. Thank you, Mr. JB. Or Miss. I don't know. I never know what the letters are. So, one thing I also want to give you guys is let's see. I'm going to give you Department of Housing, Urban Development, Office of Housing, Project Based Rental Assistance Resource. This is going to be 9 pages, and it's a PDF, and it's from HUD.gov, and I think it'll be useful in the conversation we're having. So I'm going to link that up in this live chat for you guys. I'm going to hold on to that, okay? Information is the most important thing about this. It's one of the things I've been preaching 400 videos. I think we've covered every conceivable topic, but the problem we always seem to face is with every new year, every new budget, every new president, and every new change, it changes everything elementally. So almost every video I made last year, I'll have to remake and then tell you that there's a new way to do things. So we are always constantly trying to adapt to these things. And I think the bigger issue this year is we first struggled for clients to get vouchers at a reasonable pace. Where do we get them and where do we get them quicker? And then now we're facing, okay, well, now we've got them, but the rent's too high. And so we're having to find objective ways to bounce around that. I think that a lot of clients at this point are considering most every county in the state and just doing what's necessary and within the legal limits of the law to try to find, like I said, safe, affordable housing without being completely thrown out of cash, Let's see. Renee Reams, thank you so much for your videos. No problem. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking anyways. That's what I do all day on the phone, consult with people. So it's better to do it when you feel good. So we're going to go on an off topic. So I think the video now has covered a little bit of what I want to talk about. I think that most people appreciate being able to get links and so they can sit quietly in their own home and then come to their own ideas about things. You don't really need me to preach for an hour about it. So I'm going to talk about some channel updates real quick for consulting work. And again, I'm not suggesting that anybody has to book an appointment with me, anything like that. Okay. I do it for a living. And for those that seek it out, that's there for them. Obviously, I'll put those links in the channel. For those that prefer to have their own journey and call the housing authority and deal with 211 and do their own research, kudos to you. So what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to be changing our business hours because one thing that I've noticed is, well, we've all know this. There are time zones. We have, if you live in California, you're 2 hours behind. If you're in New York, you're 3 hours ahead. So for you early birds, I now have 8 a.m. hours. For guys, mostly for seniors, because y'all like to get up when the chickens get up, and y'all like appointments in. And for my millennials and younger folks, y'all tend to be more night owls. In other words, after you get home from work, you have dinner, then you're ready to burn the phone line up. So I have made business hours, which would allow you to consult with me during some of the more bizarre hours, like between 7 and 8:30 at night. Okay, I'm going to try that, but I'm not sure that I actually really want to be on doing consults that late, need them. So we'll try it and see how that goes over my own schedule. So that's one of the changes that'll be made. I'm gonna answer a few more comments here. Uh, I read an article stating so Remy Reams comments. I read an article stating that landlords will be forced to take Section 8 vouchers. What is your opinion of this? Well, there is a lot of states that are implementing laws that require landlords to fairly accept vouchers. There will also be landlords that have lots of money and really good attorneys who will find ways to defeat that. I've already seen that. So there's always ways to do it, and they can just flat out just say that they're not going to do it, and then the repercussions are not that big. See, there's one adversarial issue with that. A lot of people that are already on a fixed income cannot afford to pay an attorney thousands of dollars to prove a case. And so these landlords know that. So sometimes they can just walk all over you, even with the law in place. And it's an unfortunate consequence of how society works, but that's what it is. I think when our parents raised, a lot of say money talks and bullshit walks, and they're hoping on that as landlords to do so. That a lot of you don't fight. A lot of people that have consulted with me, we go to war. We put on the war paint and we do everything we can to throw the landlord under the bus if necessary under federal or state law, or contacting the OIG, F, FECO, and all the people that maintain and regulate that of HUD. But those are complex matters, and I'm not a practicing attorney, and there's a certain limit as far as what I can say and do and consult with, when in that arena. So I'd say you have a hell of a battle, and sometimes a little media attention can help push it a long ways. Abby Hines says, "Knowledge is your power, choice for sure." Thank you so much for your help. We appreciate you too. I appreciate Miss Hines saying that. Anytime that somebody appreciates anything that I do, I'm always appreciative because nobody likes spending 8 years on YouTube and not being appreciated. So I think that about covers the primary topic and also the other parts I was telling you about the change of business hours and venue. Now we're going to be putting out some additional videos. I'm going to be covering again for housing for seniors, those that are struggling with it, whether the senior or older person, 62 and older or 55 and up, is dealing with project-based housing, tenant-based housing, housing choice voucher, or even trying to figure out properties. Next to that video, I'll be doing one for those with disabilities, no matter what age. So those are two big aspects. Well, two of the main primary aspects that I deal with clients is those that may be elderly and those that have disabilities. And we're going to go into a wide range of topics to help you better understand what your rights are. That way, you don't have to just accept any old thing that the people at the housing authority tell you. Look, you're not playing by the same rules when you don't know what the rules are. And so I'm hoping to clue you guys in on that and give you some of the actual U.S. title code. That way, you're able to look at it and use it as a weapon. It's not a weapon until one party doesn't want to cooperate. But the more you know about your rights, the better you're going to do as a tenant. You cannot treat the housing authority as the educator. They're not there to educate. They only cut vouchers. And so a lot of you, when you become frustrated and want to know things, you're depending on the very people that would rather not even discuss it with you. And that's what makes this so arduous, is the fact that you're having to just accept little crumbs from that, and you're not getting safe, decent advice. So, well, that being said, guys, I think we've been on a good 24 minutes. I think we've kind of covered the primary topic, and I think that in about a day or two, we're going to talk about seniors and many different things that you can do to better help yourself navigate the system with the vouchers. And for those who already have it that may be dealing with discrimination and other issues with the housing authority, the landlord, some of your rights there, and how you should be filling out some of your applications to give you the best chances with it. So, with that being said, I've enjoyed talking with y'all, and we'll talk again. Thank you. Goodbye.